Okay, for these next two components, our icon box and our snippet, it seems like we have a choice to make. So with our slide, if we look up here, our slide had particular styles associated with it, and so therefore it had a selector of its own. For the snippet, though, we don't have a snippet selector because it didn't need any styles. So the question is, do we create that selector just so we can put this in it to make it easier to maintain a visual identity between the connected styles? Well, to me it doesn't seem like a bad idea, but it kind of feels like we shouldn't have to add selectors just for organizational purposes. I think a big part of the reason why my brain wants to do that, and why yours might be following suit, is because it's nice having the clean delineation between the different components. So here, in our Stacked Heroes section alternative, everything is bundled in between this opening bracket and this closing bracket. There's no question there. Same with this slide. Between this opening bracket and closing bracket are all the styles that are associated with the slide. It feels like it would be kind of nice to have that as well with our icon box and snippet. So the alternative here to creating new selectors in order to bundle child and descendant elements within it is to create separate SASS or CSS files for each individual component. Now that might seem like a bit of overkill at this point because it's going to mean a heck of a lot more files. But what it will also mean is that any styles that are associated with a component get bundled into a single file, and we don't have to make up any selectors in order to organize them. Also, it means that this file here, our styles SASS file, won't continue to get longer and longer the further we get into our templating process. Now this is kind of a big commitment, so I don't want to take it lightly. The question is, are we going to create individual SASS files for each one of our components, or are we going to continue to create this long file here? Right now it's not very long, but I guarantee by the time we get done templating, we'll have hundreds of lines of code, if not thousands. Now this also begets the question, are there other ways to organize our files besides by component? And the answer is yes, of course. We can organize our styles any arbitrary way that makes sense to us. However, you're going to run into more digital agencies and front-end developers that organize according to component because it's clean, understandable, and the least arbitrary of a lot of the other options. Now, if we do this, what we're going to need to do is to tap into a way for SASS to aggregate all of these CSS files into a single CSS file. The reason for that is that the more CSS and JavaScript files we have to download from the server, the slower our site is going to be. And we'll talk about that more when we get into performance. But if our browser had to download a CSS file for each component, which could be 20 or 40 or 100 different files, that's going to bring down performance a lot. Luckily, SASS has a simple way to include smaller SASS files into a larger SASS file.